December 23, 1944. 9:47 p.m. Camp Papago Park, Arizona. The air inside the tunnel is suffocating. Close up, a hand trembling in the darkness, fingers scraping wet clay. The smell of earth mixed with sweat. Cold metal of a stolen spoon pressed into the dirt. Above, the desert wind howls across barbed wire. Below, 25 men wait in silence, hearts pounding like drums of war. Captain Jürgen Wattenberg crouches at the tunnel entrance, his weathered face half lit by a smuggled candle. At 44 years old, he is the oldest man here. His breath is shallow. His uniform is soaked. Handheld POV, we see through his eyes, the narrow black throat of the tunnel stretching 178 feet into the unknown. Somewhere beyond that darkness lies freedom. Or death. A guard's footstep crunches gravel overhead. Everyone freezes. Aerial drift shot, the camp from above, rows of barracks surrounded by desert emptiness. The guards see nothing. They never do. Wattenberg closes his eyes. He thinks of the Graf Spee, the burning ship, the cold water of Montevideo, the taste of defeat. Not again. Never again. He signals. One man disappears into the tunnel. Then another. Then another. The earth swallows them whole. But in 13 minutes, something will go terribly wrong. Something Wattenberg never planned for. Something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. What happens when freedom is just one breath away, and then it isn't? Rewind. 4 years earlier. December 1939. Montevideo, Uruguay. Jürgen Wattenberg was not supposed to survive. Close up, a younger face, salt-stained, staring at the horizon. The pocket battleship Admiral Graf Spee, his home, his pride, was scuttled by her own captain after the Battle of the River Plate. Smoke rose into the South Atlantic sky. The crew was interned in neutral Uruguay. But Wattenberg refused to accept it. Tracking shot, we follow him through the streets of Montevideo at night. He slips past guards, climbs a fence, disappears into shadows. Within weeks, he escapes and makes his way back to Germany by May 1940. He is 39 years old. Most men would retire. Wattenberg volunteers for U-boat training. By September 1941, he commands U-162. At 41, he is one of the oldest U-boat commanders in the entire war. His crew respects him. His superiors trust him. His enemies fear him. Over 3 patrols, he sinks 14 ships, 82,000 tons sent to the ocean floor. But the sea is cruel. And the Royal Navy is patient. September 3, 1942. Caribbean Sea. British warships Pathfinder, Vimy, and Quinton close in. Depth charges explode like thunder. U-162 is hit. Water floods the compartments. Wattenberg gives the order, surface and abandon ship. His men swim through burning oil. They are captured. Wattenberg is taken to the United States, first to interrogation, then to Camp Papago Park in Arizona. Slow pan, the desert camp surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. Over the shoulder shot, Wattenberg stares through the fence at the mountains. He has escaped before. He will escape again. But how do you escape from the middle of a desert, when even the rivers are dry? January 1944. Camp Papago Park, Arizona. Camp Papago was never meant to hold men like Wattenberg. Originally built for U.S. soldiers undergoing desert combat training, it was repurposed in 1943 to house Italian POWs, then Germans. By 1944, it held over 1,700 prisoners, many of them naval officers, U-boat veterans, men who had faced death and laughed. Close up, the camp from ground level. Wooden barracks. Dust everywhere. Guard towers spaced too far apart. Sensory detail, the sun beating down like a hammer. The smell of cheap coffee and boredom. The sound of German voices singing old songs to pass the time. The American guards are mostly young, inexperienced. They don't speak German. They don't understand military discipline. They don't realize that every day, their prisoners are watching, learning, planning. When Wattenberg arrives, he surveys the camp with the eye of an engineer. Handheld POV, we see what he sees. The officer's compound. The bathhouse near the eastern fence. The guard tower with a blind spot. The cross-cut canal just beyond the wire. A faint smile crosses his face. One of the guards, Colonel William A. Holden, unknowingly points out the blind spot to an officer. Right there, he says, is the one place the towers can't see. The officer reports back to Wattenberg. The captain nods slowly. The plan is born. But building a tunnel in the Arizona desert is not like building one in Germany. The ground is hard. The heat is unbearable. And the guards, though inexperienced, are unpredictable. If they are caught, they will be shot. If they succeed, they will become legends. What would you risk for one more chance at freedom? September 1944. Camp Papago Park. Work on the tunnel begins under the cover of darkness. Wattenberg organizes his men into three-man teams. One digs with a stolen pick and shovel. One gathers dirt in a bucket. One watches for guards. A fourth team disposes of the dirt, scattering it across the compound, hiding it in gardens, mixing it with laundry water. Close-up, hands digging through clay. Sweat dripping. Breath echoing in a narrow space. Sensory detail, the smell of damp earth. The sound of metal scraping stone. The feeling of suffocation, of being buried alive. Every night, 90 minutes of silent, back-breaking work. The tunnel entrance is concealed inside the bathhouse, hidden beneath a large coal box. When prisoners go to shower, they slip into the tunnel unnoticed. Aerial shot, the bathhouse from above, no one suspects what lies beneath. But there are setbacks. Twice, the tunnel nearly collapses. Once, a guard walks too close during a work shift. The men freeze, hearts pounding, waiting to be discovered. The guard moves on. They exhale. They keep digging. Over the shoulder shot, Wattenberg reviews stolen maps of Arizona and Mexico. He has contacts in Mexico who can help them return to Germany. He has fake identity papers prepared. He has civilian clothes smuggled in piece by piece. He has food saved and hidden. Everything is planned. Everything is ready. By December 20, 1944, the tunnel is complete, 178 feet long, with a 6-foot deep entrance shaft. It runs from the bathhouse to the cross-cut canal beyond the fence. Wattenberg gathers his men. 25 volunteers. All naval officers. All willing to die rather than spend another day behind wire. December 23 is chosen for the escape. That night, other prisoners will celebrate loudly, a distraction. The guards will be tired, bored, thinking of Christmas. The moon will be dark. The desert will be silent. But the Arizona desert holds a secret that will shatter their dreams. What happens when the river you plan to escape on doesn't exist? December 23, 1944. 9 p.m. The escape begins on schedule. Close up, Wattenberg's face, resolute, whispering final instructions. The tunnel mouth opens like a grave. One by one, the men crawl into the darkness. Handheld POV, we crawl with them, dirt falling, space narrowing, breath shortening. 3 men, Captain Wilhelm Gunther, Lieutenant Wolfgang Claris, and Lieutenant Friedrich Utzolino, carry something unusual, pieces of a collapsible raft made from wood scraps and rubber. They have studied a stolen gas station map that shows the Gila River in blue. Their plan, float down the Gila to the Colorado River, then into the Gulf of California and freedom. Tracking shot, inside the tunnel, shadows moving, hands pulling bodies forward. The air is thick. Someone coughs. Someone prays. 90 minutes later, at 2:30 a.m. on December 24, all 25 men emerge on the other side. They are free. Aerial drift shot, the escapees scatter into the desert night. Some head south toward Mexico. Some head north into the mountains. Gunther's group carries their raft east toward the Gila River. Behind them, the camp sleeps. The guards suspect nothing. But the desert is vast. The night is cold. And the Gila River, shown in blue on their map, is about to deliver a truth more devastating than any depth charge. Slow pan, the men arrive at the riverbank. Close up, Gunther's face, confusion turning to horror. The Gila River, their escape route, their lifeline, is completely dry. Only a few shallow puddles remain in the cracked earth. No water. No current. No escape. Over the shoulder shot, Gunther stares at the useless raft in his hands. Years later, he will say, I can laugh about it now, but at the time it was very disheartening. They abandon the raft and continue on foot. But without water, without shelter, the desert becomes their new prison. Within hours, several escapees turn themselves in. The heat is unbearable. The thirst is worse. How far would you walk through hell for a freedom that keeps slipping through your fingers? December 24 to 28, 1944. Arizona desert. The manhunt begins at dawn. Silhouette shot, helicopters circling overhead. Tracking dogs sniffing the ground. Police cars racing across dirt roads. The largest POW escape in American history has become a national embarrassment. But the Germans are smart. They move at night. They hide during the day. They drink from cattle troughs. They steal food from ranches. Some travel alone. Some in pairs. 2 men, Heinrich Palmer and Reinhard Mark, make it to within 10 miles of the Mexican border before being recaptured near Celles. Close up, Palmer's face, sunburned, exhausted, defiant. He almost made it. Almost. Others are caught quickly. Wilhelm Gunther and his raft team are captured shortly after abandoning their boat. Some surrender after realizing the desert will kill them faster than the guards ever could. Handheld POV, a prisoner stumbling through cactus, lips cracked, vision blurring. But one man refuses to surrender. One man hides in the mountains north of Phoenix. One man waits in a shallow cave near POW Peak. Captain Jürgen Wattenberg. Aerial shot, the cave from above, barely visible, a dark crack in the rock. Inside, Wattenberg and two others, Walter Kozer and Johann Kramer, survive on supplies left by German POWs on work detail. They explore the area at night. They watch the city lights of Phoenix below. But the desert is relentless. Days turn into weeks. Kozer and Kramer leave to find food. They never return. Wattenberg is alone. Over the shoulder shot, Wattenberg staring at the stars from his cave. He is 44 years old. He survived the Graf-Spee. He survived U-162. He survived the tunnel. But the desert might finally break him. When every man has been captured except you, do you keep running, or do you accept defeat? January 1945. Phoenix, Arizona. Wattenberg holds out for over a month. Close up, his face, gaunt, bearded, hollow-eyed. He is living on scraps, drinking rainwater, sleeping on stone. The Arizona winter is cold. His body is failing. But his mind refuses to quit. By late January, he makes a decision. Tracking shot, Wattenberg descends from the mountains and walks into downtown Phoenix. Sensory detail, the smell of fresh bread. The sound of car horns. The warmth of heated buildings. Civilization feels like a dream. He enters a small cafe. He orders a bowl of soup and a beer. Close up, his hands wrapped around the warm bowl. For a moment, he is not a prisoner. He is not a fugitive. He is just a tired man eating soup. Handheld POV, the soup, the steam, the brief illusion of peace. After eating, he walks to the Adams Hotel and sits in the lobby. He is too exhausted to run anymore. He falls asleep in a chair. Slow pan, his body slumped, breathing deeply, finally at rest. When he wakes, police are waiting. January 28, 1945. The last escapee is captured. Over the shoulder shot, Wattenberg in handcuffs, walking back to Camp Papago. Aerial drift shot, the camp in the distance, barbed wire glinting in the sun. He does not resist. He does not speak. He survived 37 days on the run, longer than any of the others. But something happened during those 37 days. Something the Americans didn't discover until years later. Something hidden in the tunnel, in the desert, in the minds of the men who escaped. What secret did Wattenberg protect, even in defeat? February 1945. Camp Papago Park. Interrogation room. Wattenberg sits across from American intelligence officers. Close up, his face, expressionless, dignified. They ask him about the tunnel. He answers calmly. They ask him about the escape plan. He nods. They ask him if there were others involved. He says nothing. The Americans believe the escape was about freedom. About returning to Germany. About duty and honor. But they are wrong. Slow reveal, Wattenberg's interrogators describe him as dignified, but strongly pro-Nazi and adamantly security-minded. His officers followed his example scrupulously. They revealed nothing beyond the basic facts. Because the escape was never just about 25 men running into the desert. It was a test. A message. A declaration that even in captivity, even in the middle of nowhere, the German Navy would never stop fighting. Handheld POV, documents spread across the table. Maps of Mexico. Contact names. Smuggling routes. The Americans realized the tunnel was part of a larger network, a system designed to help German POWs across multiple camps escape back to the war. But there is something else. Something Wattenberg never admits. Over the shoulder shot, a guard's report from December 24. Prisoners celebrated loudly during escape. Distraction was planned. But the celebration was not just noise. It was a code. A signal to other camps. A coordinated effort across the American Southwest. Close up, Wattenberg's eyes. He knows they don't understand. He knows they never will. The twist, the escape was not a failure. It was a success. Because every day those 25 men were free, the Americans had to divert resources, helicopters, dogs, soldiers, away from the war effort. Every headline about escaped Nazis was a propaganda victory for Germany. Every recapture was a reminder that the war was not over. Aerial drift shot, the desert at sunset. Somewhere out there, 25 men walked through hell and forced an entire nation to remember their names. But did Wattenberg plan it this way? Or did the desert teach him something even he didn't expect? March 1945. Camp Papago Park. The escapees are returned to the camp. Close up, their faces, sunburned, scarred, but unbroken. They are placed in isolation. They are interrogated again. They are punished with reduced rations and solitary confinement. But they do not regret. Tracking shot, Wattenberg walking through the camp, other prisoners watching him. To them, he is a hero. To the guards, he is a problem. To history, he is something else entirely. Handheld POV, a letter smuggled out of the camp. Written in code. Sent to German intelligence. It describes the tunnel, the escape, the desert. But it also contains a warning: America is not prepared for prolonged resistance. If we had water, we would have reached Mexico. The letter never reaches Germany. The war ends in May 1945. But the myth of the Great Papago escape grows. Over-the-shoulder shot, Wattenberg in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He thinks of the Grafspee. He thinks of U-162. He thinks of the tunnel. He has spent his entire life refusing to surrender. But now, for the first time, he wonders, was it worth it? Close-up, his hands, older now, scarred from digging. Sensory detail, the roughness of the blanket. The smell of dust and sweat. The sound of men breathing in the dark. Slow pan, photographs of the escapees pinned to a wall. 25 faces. 25 stories. Some will return to Germany in 1947. Some will stay in America. Some will die before seeing home again. But all of them will carry the desert with them forever. When freedom costs everything, and gives you nothing, was it still worth fighting for? April, December 1945. Camp Papago Park. The war in Europe ends on May 8, 1945. Handheld POV, prisoners listening to the radio, tears streaming down their faces. Germany has surrendered. Hitler is dead. The Reich is gone. Everything they fought for has collapsed. Wattenberg sits in silence. Close-up, his face, expressionless. He does not cry. He does not speak. He simply stares at the barbed wire. The camp becomes a limbo. The prisoners are no longer enemies. But they are not free. They are ghosts, waiting for someone to remember they exist. Tracking shot, men playing cards, reading old letters, singing quiet songs. Time moves slowly. By December, preparations begin to send them back to Germany. But the Germany they remember no longer exists. Cities are rubble. Families are scattered. The future is uncertain. Over-the-shoulder shot, Wattenberg packing his few belongings. A stolen spoon. A piece of map. A photograph of the Grafspee. These are the only things he owns. Aerial drift shot, the camp one last time. Empty barracks. Wind blowing across abandoned guard towers. The tunnel entrance, now sealed, is just a memory buried in the earth. In January 1947, Wattenberg is finally released and returned to Germany. He is 46 years old. He has survived 4 wars, the Battle of the River Plate, the U-boat campaign, Camp Papago, and the war within himself. Slow pan, Wattenberg walking away from the camp, never looking back. But some battles never end. Some tunnels lead nowhere. And some men spend the rest of their lives digging. 1947 to 1995. Germany and beyond. Wattenberg returns to a broken country. Close-up, destroyed streets, hollow faces, children begging for bread. The Germany he fought for is gone. The navy he served no longer exists. He is a relic of a lost war. But the legend of the Papago escape refuses to die. Historians interview him. Journalists ask him why he did it. He always gives the same answer: because it was my duty. Tracking shot, Wattenberg in his later years, gray-haired, walking along the Baltic coast. Sensory detail, the smell of salt water. The sound of waves. The memory of U-162 sinking beneath him. Over-the-shoulder shot, Wilhelm Gunther, years later, laughing about the dry river. I can laugh about it now, he says. But his eyes are sad. Because the desert taught them something no military academy ever could, that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward, even when every step leads deeper into hell. Close-up, Heinrich Palmer, the man who came within 10 miles of Mexico, telling his grandchildren the story. He does not glorify it. He does not romanticize it. He simply says, we tried. Handheld POV, the tunnel site in modern-day Arizona, now part of a public park. A plaque marks the spot where 25 men crawled toward freedom. Tourists take photographs. Children play nearby. No one truly understands what happened there. Aerial drift shot, the Arizona desert, unchanged, eternal. The Gila River is still dry. The mountains still guard their secrets. The ghosts of 25 men still walk through the sand. On September 27, 1995, Jürgen Wattenberg dies at the age of 94. He never spoke publicly about the escape again. But in his final years, he was heard to say one thing: I do not regret the tunnel. I regret that we believed the map. Because maps lie. Rivers disappear. But the human will to be free, that never dies. Aftermath and legacy. The Great Papago Escape remains the largest Axis POW breakout in American history. 25 men. 1 tunnel. 37 days of freedom for some, hours for others. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single life was lost. But every man was changed forever. Close-up, archive footage of the camp being dismantled in 1946. The barracks torn down. The wire rolled up. The tunnel filled with concrete. As if erasing it could erase what happened there. But history does not forget. Slow pan, the documents now held in military archives. Interrogation reports. Tunnel blueprints. Photographs of the escapees. Each page a testament to human defiance. Historians would later debate, was the escape a military success or a desperate failure? Tracking shot, scholars arguing in university halls. The answer depends on perspective. To the Americans, it was an embarrassment, a reminder that even in the middle of the desert, vigilance was required. To the Germans, it was proof that surrender did not mean submission. Handheld POV, the modern site of Camp Papago, now Papago Park in Phoenix. Families picnic where prisoners once dug. Joggers run past the spot where the bathhouse stood. Life continues, unaware of the ghosts beneath. Over-the-shoulder shot, a veteran historian placing flowers at the memorial plaque. They were our enemies, he says quietly. But they were also men who refused to give up. There is something to respect in that. Aerial drift shot, the Arizona desert at twilight. The same desert that Wattenberg crossed. The same mountains that hid him. The same dry riverbeds that crushed his hope. Close up, the final lesson, written in sand and memory. The Papago escape teaches us that freedom is not a destination. It is a direction. And some men would rather die walking toward it than live standing still. Wattenberg, Gunther, Palmer, and the others, they did not win. But they did not lose either. They simply chose to dig. To crawl. To run. To try. Slow fade, the tunnel entrance, now just a shadow in the earth. A faint wind blows across the desert. Somewhere in that wind, the voices of 25 men still whisper, "We refuse to stop." Final haunting line. In 1944, 25 men crawled through 178 feet of earth to taste freedom for one more night. The tunnel is gone. The camp is gone. But the question remains, if you had one chance, one tunnel, one impossible hope, would you dig?